future, and I will begin the presentation now. Can you see it all right?
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. So we're recording. Can I start?
Sorry, what's that?
Yeah. Should I begin?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Whenever
Okay.
you're ready.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just hopefully you can hear me well. I had a different microphone that was working perfectly with Zoom, but now I can't connect it for some reason. So
Sorry.
let me
I
know if you want
can
me
hear
to
you
speak
great.
up. But yeah, I just kind of want to like start by saying that girl developer was definitely like one of the pivotal moments in my career in tech many years ago. I mean, not that many, but quite a few. I was brought up in this way when there are like men jobs and women jobs, and you cannot succeed doing like what is not you meant to by according to your gender. So when one day I found this meetup and I went there and I saw this like room full of women and everyone was like eager to like help each other learn stuff, it was just mind blowing. It was that moment when I just realized like everything just moved in my head. It's like now it makes sense. Okay, it's like I have a right, and there is no way back. So thank you. I all girl developed my career in tech. So just like put in that aside, and there's like a few things that I wanted to talk about. There's like so much in cybersecurity. It was really difficult for me to figure out like what to even like share with, because it's like I think this is important and this is important, but I've broken down into a few things. So like first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my path and to where I am right now, which is definitely not conventional. There's a roller coaster, like how I got there. You know how they show you like the path to success is like this. Mine was like all over the place. I will share a little bit of like how my day to day looks like, just to give you an idea what actually what is actually like to be like in the trenches of cybersecurity, like what your day to day look like what task you might expect, and just to you like understand better if it's actually for you. I will show you a little bit. I'll try to show you like a little bit the broader spectrum of what cybersecurity is, because there's so many different paths and ways where you can go, and it's like all different types of backgrounds required in this field. And I'm pretty sure that like whatever skill you have, it's probably going to be transferable to cybersecurity in some way if you're interested. And then I'll share some resources, how you can get started, maybe a little bit about like trajectory, how to get from like where you are to kind of like a skill set that you would require to like pass the interview, let's say. Uh, okay, so that's where we are. Next slide, please.
Perfect. Do you see the next slide?
Yes.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, so just this is like a little bit of who am I? Who am I? Like side note is a command in Linux. That's whenever like let's say you are hacking a Linux, and like first time you want to know is what uh, like who you under, like did you hack like into root, or like what kind of user. So that's like a command that you use. And also whenever you will see a hacker talk, this is how they refer to like their page. I don't know if it's like um, something in common, but in cybersecurity, this is like how you say it. The total side note. So yeah, I'm currently a product security engineer. and I do a lot of like code reviews and just like basically looking at code all day. But like how I got here, I would probably started like I started from um, very non-traditional background. I actually finished a trade school to be a travel agent. That's something that you don't see anymore. Like who goes to travel agent? Like that's totally not a thing anymore. So I worked like random jobs. I was a sailor on a boat. I was bartending quite a bit uh, in different countries and different states, and liked it really. Like it's a great job, but it's really taxing. Like working nights is like I felt like it's not sustainable. So I had to figure something out that is like going to be a little bit more sustainable and give me a little bit more job security. And that's when I started like looking into tech. Um, and this is like around that time. Um, I was volunteering. I found this like organization. I was volunteering for them as a system administrator and like learning everything on the job. Yeah, I just like showed up and I was like, yeah, let me just help you. And I learned everything to the point where they realized that I'm like now helpful, and that's they started like paying me for what I do. Um, and I would say like this is the tactic that I was using the most at the beginning when I was learning things, kind of like learning a job. Um, just like showing up, offering my skills for free, learning everything, and like getting paid at the end. Um, at, at, at some point, I was like really interested in blockchain and Bitcoin, and it was just kind of like a new thing. It was like 2013, 2014, when you couldn't even find like any information online. And there was this a Bitcoin center down in Wall Street in New York, where they were having this like a trading events, and they had like an open bar. So I just showed up and I was like, oh, I'll just bartend for you, for free, just so I can learn a little bit about this whole Bitcoin thing. And they said yes, of course. It's like who say no to free labor, right? And after like over time, I learned like a lot. I ended up building like mining rigs for them. I was working with their customers like on the trading side. I was like teaching people how to use blockchain, Bitcoin, like whatever it was like back in the time. So that is like ended up uh, being my job. And also, while I was bartending for free, people were like tipping me in Bitcoin. So that's ended up like being very lucrative too. So because price back then and what it was like, a few years later. I'm glad I took it. Uh, so then, that was Go Development. I wrote my first HTML page that was really got me hooked, and I am very excited about this whole field. I went to pick up a couple of certifications, CompTIA A plus, Network plus. Those two certifications they kind of like teach you how to troubleshoot and maintain computers, like and learn about network. So did that. I learned iOS development, and while I was learning iOS development, there was a boot camp. It's a free one. That was like the only reason that I went there actually. Um, the- One of my classmates showed me this video. It was a Vice documentary. It was 15 minutes long, um, and they were showing this like hackers breaking into like U.S. power grid, which was a red team engagement testing the physical security of that location. Uh, and I was looking at it, it's like, is that a job? Like, can you get paid for it? How amazing! And after that, I just like started like learning everything I could about like cybersecurity, what it is, like how to get in like without knowledge or anything. And I again found an apprenticeship, free, not paid, just being like like a security, like it was technically like penetration testing assistant at the time. Um, and yeah, they ended up like hiring me part time, and then like quickly after full time, uh, just doing penetration testing for them. Uh, and I ended up like working at a company for like 3 years until the current company that I work for now offered me twice more money. So it's like I took that job. So that's kind of like a quick overview of like how I got there. It's really like difficult to have a timeline because it's such an unconventional. Uh, it's not like oh, I got a computer science degree and then I went to study this. Yeah, that's like, but I got here eventually. So yeah, so now I can like maybe tell a little bit like what I do now.
Sure.
Try to get the idea. So starting with the penetration test, just like a little bit of like what it actually is. There's this concept in cybersecurity of like red team and blue team, and it's these terms are like taken from the military terms when they have engagement and they like training. And one team pretends to be attacker and the other is defender, and that's how they kind of like get prepared for like being in the battlefield. And cybersecurity taking this concept doing exactly that. Most of the times, a company would hire an external company that does engagement for them, which what I was doing. Like I would most of the time would not know anything about the company except my scope. So let's say they have a website um, that they just want to test like how secure it is, and I'll just go and attack it, and I'll try to see if there are any ways I can maybe like sneak it in, and there is like maybe vulnerability, maybe there is like a very old version of the software that has a known vulnerability. Or we would do like a phishing attack when we try to send a malicious link to employees and see if they click it, and then once they click it, that would execute our payload, and then we're in, and then kind of like get through there. There's like a multiple different ways how to get to, but it's like depends on what kind of website, what kind of software you have. From there, you get into a network of the company, and then you try to get admin, which means it's like the most powerful account in the network. At that point, like you can do anything. That's it. Like you're done. Um, and the penetration testing, it's just one part of this whole like red team engagement. So this the video that I was mentioning when go into the location that involves like physical security. So when you do red team, you actually go and try to social engineer your way in. You try to pretend maybe you're like you're just like delivering mail, or maybe there is like you're from fire department and you have to like check something, and like whenever you have like a hard hat and like a clipboard, like people let you in very often. So from there you just like find your way and like go to a server room. You plug in a USB, and that USB has a payload, and it's like owned. So after, like when you do your engagement like that, whatever it is, whether it's physical or you test in like web applications or network or Wi-Fi, that's another one that you do when you just try to hack the Wi-Fi and like get through that way. You're just hanging out in the parking lot with like one of those like antennas that you can buy online for like $50, and yeah, just get in that way. So then you're invited to port. with detailing everything, how you got there, what you use, just kind of like showcase um, everything that you found during that engagement. And then you would have like you would meet with a client, you would present this report, you would show them how you got to where you got to, and just give them a recommendation. So, for example, like if I find a cross-site scripting vulnerability on their website and I used it to like get inside of their internal network, so then I would just go and like give them recommendation of how to patch it. So it's going to be like sanitization. You have to make sure that you like sanitize any input that like comes from the user to your website, uh, to make sure that whatever user is writing is sending that information. It will always have to be looked at as potentially malicious. Things like that. And then the customers would have some time to go back, fix whatever like we found, and then we go back and retest it whenever like they fix it and see if like those things actually been patched, and kind of like send them their way at that point. So the engagement length depends on the type. So let's say like a penetration testing, um, that's like an average of 2 weeks. So you are assigned to it's a company, and companies also like for me they were ranging from mom and pop shops to like Fortune 500 companies. So or like government organization. Those are always very fun to test because they all use old software. It's like so easy to get to, which is like sad because all our information is there and like it's really scary. So I'm glad that I get to like work on that and make the government organization like a little bit more secure. This like benefits all of us, I think. Um, yeah, and like if we're talking about like a red team, like a full on engagement, it can be anywhere up to a 6 month contract. So that's your range. But for me, the most typical one was like 2 weeks for one engagement, and because it was kind of like a very fast growing startup, I had like a few of those like juggling at the same time. So it can be a lot, but I'm guessing it's probably like different from like what company you work for, uh, and whether it's a consulting company like mine or you are doing a red teaming in house. So if you're in house, obviously you don't have those like contracts. You just like have an engagement, like test your own internal um, systems, and that's pretty much it. But when you're contracted out, it depends how busy your company gets. So that's why like penetration testing, which I think is the most fun one. The one I do now, it's basically just looking at code all day. There's a huge code base. You just sit in it and look at it and try to find bugs, try to find vulnerabilities. I'm also responsible for the bug bounty program. Bug bounty is also a very interesting part of cybersecurity. Anyone can participate in the program as a researcher. So if you're even if you just started and just like beginning to like learn cybersecurity, and then you like literally just learn about like one single vulnerability like cross-site scripting, you can go to websites that facilitate by bounty program, just like HackerOne, for example, the one I work with for my company. And yeah, and you just go and like test all the companies that participate in it for like trying to find cross-site scripting. And if you do, and you just like show them that you found it, that they award you bounties. So it can be like a really nice like side hustle as you're learning cybersecurity, because you get to legally test and hack into huge companies like Google, Facebook, or like pretty much like anything that's out there. All the major companies participate in programs like that. So I think it's pretty awesome opportunities, maybe like for you in future if you want to like go dive a little deeper. Um, what else? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's like if you trying to think if I like miss something, but that's probably like the main points that I need to touch base on those two. Okay, this is like big statement. Cybersecurity is huge, and it's not even like everything. Like whatever you see on the side, there's like honestly, there's like so much to it. And wherever you are in your journey, you probably gonna be able to find something that like fits you. So there's like so many. There's like IoT security. There's AI. You can do education. You can do cloud security. You can do physical security. If we're like a little bit less technical, you can also do compliance, which I say like a lot of friends of mine actually like go down that route. Um, so let's say whenever a company um, is like there's some certain categories that are you have to be compliant to be under those categories. Let's say you accept credit cards, you're going to be under PCI DSS, and that's a set of rules that you have to comply with when you, let's say, store credit card information or data or like anything of that nature. And that company would go out and like either hire someone full time, depends on the size, or hire an external validator who's going to go and write a report and find like all those checkpoints of whether you comply and you store that data properly according to all the regulations. The same goes to like let's say hospitals, like hospitals and all the like medical organization. You probably know they have this like HIPAA, and there is also an organization who's gonna have you um, make sure that you are HIPAA compliant. So that's also like a full-on job just to like go do that if you want to. It's not technical, but you just like going through those checkpoints and make sure that the data of the patients is properly stored, secured, and uh, transferred. Um, what else we have here? Security analysis. That's you would start with probably because basically what it is just so there's like mm, let's say you Splunk, that's the software when you just log in all the events, and there's a person who will just be sitting there looking at logs and trying to find anomalies. Maybe you're gonna write scripts to do that, but like at the end, it's just like you writing, you like find some anomalies and trying to see if you can find maybe something suspicious that can potentially be an attacker in your network. That's also a job. There is also like data science. If you're into that, there is like a whole domain of like data science for cybersecurity. If that's your strong side, uh, then you have dark web. So let's say there is this company Dark Owl. And they're somewhere in Midwest. I can't remember exactly where, but they're great. Like all they do, they monitor dark web for any leaked information of a company. So let's say if you're a company like Facebook, you go to like buy their service, and they will just like let you know if any of your like employees' credentials were showed up on the dark web, or maybe like someone stole data of users and like uploaded to dark web. So they just like sit and monitor that, which I think is a really fun job. Like how it sounds to do that. It sounds awesome. You just like sit there all day and like talk to hackers. like real ones. It can probably be really scary because it's like I don't know what to expect from them, right? But you probably like protected behind like all these properties and like VPNs and like this so secure they can never like find out like where you find who you are. Side note, if you're like interested in something like that, there is a fantastic book from like a few years ago. The name is Spam Nation by Brian Krebs. And this journalist from Washington Post, that's what he was doing. He was just hanging out on this like hacker forums and like busting uh, spam lore. Very interesting, fascinating book. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Um, what else is there? So we have obviously like network security, application security. Application security is what I do mainly. Um, very much in demand because now basically everything is an app, even like network is an app, like everything is. So there's never gonna be shortage of job for that. That's like I can guarantee. Then there is, as I said, like a blue team, red team. There is also purple team, which is a mix of those two. That's when you cannot like, if you don't want to sign up just for one side, whether you are attacker or defender, you can actually create within an organization. It's like kind of like a new thing that they do. It's like purple team. Um, and if you're interested in that, there is a great woman in cybersecurity named Tanya Jenka. She's teaching all about that. Um, check her out if you're interested in like the intersection of those two. It's like really fascinating stuff. Social engineering also a big thing. So there's like probably a long time. It's like a really cool story that like I love hearing. So there's this event, DEF CON, for hackers from all over the world. They come to Las Vegas and it's huge and it's been going on for ages. And like when you go there, there's like all these competitions, like who's gonna, and the competitions are really difficult, but they're like all in different like realms. So there's like one competition for like physical security, one for like application security, etc. And whenever you win one of those competitions, you get a black badge, which allows you to go to all the conferences in future for free. And like very few people in the world for this past 20 years have it. And obviously, very male dominated place. Like you go there and it's gonna see like very few women and like all these like very nerdy guys, right? And few years ago, they had this competition for social engineering. Is when you are given a target and you have to like social engineer your way in the company and find as much information as you can. So you can call them or fish them or whatever. And there was this woman, her name is Alith Dennis, and she was just like getting into cybersecurity, really interested in it, and like tried this competition. Um, and she came third the first time she tried it, and then she decided to do it again the next year with a little bit more information. While she was preparing for that, she had a baby. So she ended up going to this competition with her like little newborn with like 3 years, 3 days old or whatever, and she ended up beating all the guys, winning the first place while breastfeeding her baby, and black badge. and and those guys, they were like since they were 5 years old, like in the nerds and trying to like go on top whatever, and then she just like rocks up and like beats all of them. I was such an inspiring story. So yeah, social engineering actually very I would say this is where like women kind of have advantage because we are more trustable, I guess. So yeah. What other ones? So we have cryptography. I don't know. It's like a very great field to be in, but it's so difficult. Like this probably the one that's where you really need to know math, and I don't know that. It's definitely it's not my strong point. Reverse engineering is great. This is where you sit down and look at malware samples and try to understand how it works. I think it's really fascinating as well. Uh, because this is like the real piece of software that like this like it can destroy so much. Like if you heard maybe like how many hospitals got hit by ransomware this like for the last few years, and there's security researchers who specialize on reverse engineering, the ones who kind of like save the world from that. They're on the front line of that battle. um, there there is a great researcher, malware unicorn. She has her own like little studies like classes, how to for beginners, how to get into like a reverse engineering malware. um, Also really highly recommend checking her out. She's amazing. uh, Whereas then there is a threat intelligence. That's also a very interesting field. That's when you also not too technical. You just have to have like a general understanding of kind of like how network is built, including all your app nodes, uh, and kind of like give a chart of like give potential ways uh, how this entity can be hacked. So let's say you take a company, I don't know, like let's say a grocery store, and then you're going to be thinking of all the ways that this grocery store can potentially be attacked. So it can be physical, and then you go and check like what are the physical, is it like the windows, or is there like do you have some kind of an alarm system? Then you think, okay, maybe social engineering, and you can try trick your cashiers into doing something. Then you go and see like what permissions those cashiers have, and this kind of like tabletop exercise, trying to figure out how vulnerable that particular entity to that particular like attack, maybe let's say. Um, and it kind of like sounds maybe not so complicated. Uh, like I would say, if you have a security mindset, and if you're already like not sure, kind of like asking those questions, like but how can this be broke? Then you probably can do the job. It's just like the matter of like the more time you spend on it, the more there's like a little holes you're gonna be able to find. um, and you can build it for everything. You can build it for companies and for governments. I had this friend, and he was actually doing it for governments. He would be deployed to different countries and try to figure out like the attack path to different government organizations, let's say. There's like not much he can share, so leave it as vague. But there is this also this guy like Adam shows that this is all like this whole his whole career was drawing charts of how Microsoft could potentially be hacked. So he was working for Microsoft, and he was just like sitting there and like drawing. It's like, okay, it can be hacked this way, that way, and it doesn't involve like anything technical, but like literally he wrote this like ever book just for that, like this whole as book just to figure out how to get to places without even like having to kind of prove that concept. I find it fascinating. Um, so yeah, and bug bounties, I already mentioned that. So yeah, I guess I can like go to the next one. Just like for the ways how to learn it. I don't think there is a right or wrong way to get to where you are, especially because there's so many different ways. Like from the previous slide, you see that there's infinite amount of things you can do in cybersecurity. So, like at the beginning, like try to see which part of aspects are like more interested for you, and maybe take it from there. Especially because there's so many free resources. I understand that it can be like a very difficult to just go out and like learn stuff yourself with all these free resources. Like I know like on Udemy, I am I think I have like 50 courses, and I don't think I ever going to go through those courses. Like it's hard, but it gives you a good general idea of like what that security domain is about. So then you can go deeper and like pick, maybe like you want to go into like a boot camp. There's like quite a few cybersecurity boot camps out there now. um, Again, self-study, certifications. I really like my CompTIA certifications because they are very like to the point, and they're not too difficult to grasp, but they give you enough information to understand what like security is. So they have like security plus, where you don't even need to pass the certification. You just buy the textbook and just go through the textbook and understand more. Like for me, I know that like I really like that format. When you just read the book, they have labs that you can go through. So that's something that you can look at. But apart from CompTIA, there's like a bunch of other certifications. Probably like over 200 right now, so you can definitely pick something if you like it. On the job, of course, like that's how I was trying to get into it. When you just like go like offer, like I was just offering my free skill, free labor, and then it was just getting a lot of knowledge in return. uh, Often when you already work for a company that have some kind of like a security department, you can, like back them and ask questions, and they're probably going to be able to be helpful and like happy to share some information and resources specific to the company that you work into. On the university, I mean, that's kind of an obvious one, but who wants to be in depth in this time anyway? Right. So yeah, for online resources, I was like thinking to like browse with you and show you a little bit, but I can't share my screen, so just trust me. And you can like check it on your own after. But there is just like a few resources out of this ocean of resources out there that I wanted to share, because I think they're pretty legit. So starting with CTFs, it's like capture the flag. It's a type. It's not like one particular thing. It's like a type of like activity or like a learning path, where it's, if you're competitive, if you like games, it can be very fun. Um, so you would like, let's say you sign up. It can be a competition, or it can be like by yourself. Then you would be given a box, which is like a Linux environment or a Windows environment. Box basically means like a computer in the hacker terms, and you have to figure out how to hack into it. They're all different difficulties, so you pick one for yourself. There's like, can be very hard ones that takes you like weeks to exploit, but there is this Pico CTF that I mentioned. I would probably, if you're interested, I would probably start with Pico CTF, because that's very beginner friendly, and they really like help you to get started. Once you find that that's already like too easy for you, then you can kind of like move to hack the box, and that's really help you. They'll help you if you're looking for some kind of like a penetration testing role or red team or things like that. But also even for like my current role, which is definitely not offensive security, I was still like part of my interview process was to hack into a server. So, and that's where like capture the flag skills come pretty handy because that's essentially what you learn. Another resource that I really like is Try Hack Me. That's very like friendly. They're like holding your hand and they're very interactive and like tell you everything you need to know. So let's say they're going to like show you this is a vulnerability and this is how you do it. So they explain to you, they show you. Then you have like your lab environment in your browser, so you don't need to like install any software or anything, and you get to practice those. And I just really like the way they kind of like share that information. It's like it's fun and interactive, and it's very it's to the point. Like definitely recommend checking them out. Udemy, I mean, I guess probably everyone knows that resource. It can be a little bit difficult to find like a good course, so and it's just like if you find some good free just to check it out, but also just the same information is on YouTube. So I just edited, but not a fan. Cybery is a really good course. They have a lot of really great courses. Those courses like go through like all sorts of like tests to make sure they're good quality. Um, One that I particularly like, the name is Advanced Penetration Testing, but it's not really advanced. So don't be discouraged by that. It just means that it requires you to know a little bit of background. You like they expect you to already know how to use the command line or uh, like maybe a little bit about Linux environment. But the course is really good. It is by this awesome woman, Georgia Wigman. She also wrote a book on penetration testing. Huge fan of hers. Definitely proud. I think like the way she kind of like go through all the resources that like available for you and penetration testing. Like she's really good at it. Um, another good one to start with, maybe like a little bit more of a beginner, is Code Academy. They now have like a separate track for cybersecurity. They used to be just for development, but now they include cybersecurity, which is awesome. I love that resource. I think back in the day when I was learning coding, I used them a lot, and I like the way they do it. And last one, I would say it's a little bit like more. It's not as general. It's specific for a web application. But if you're interested, specifically in web and application and having websites, this is probably like by far the best academy that you can get to. It's for free. You can go through all their like little labs. At the end, if you want to, you can pay for a certification, but obviously like you don't have to. You can just like learn everything you need to know. I also like I have their book too. Also huge fan. I think this company is probably like number one in web application security right now. So I also highly recommend it. So next slide. So for interviews, there's a lot to say about interviews, but I think it's also pretty specific for whatever like job you're applying for. So I'm just going to share like my experience. It comes from interviews, like including FAANG companies like Amazon, and also I was teaching students and always was asking the students to give feedback about their experience in interviews when they were getting a job. So that's like where my knowledge is coming from about that. So to kind of like to make you more comfortable with how everything works, especially like an environment when you're like uh, learning it yourself. I would definitely suggest to start with building a lab. Building a lab is like a virtual environment within like your computer or laptop where you can set up any sort of like network topology types that you can practice. So I know like I used to have VirtualBox. Uh, you can add as many like as you have storage in your laptop, as many different boxes. Like you would have like Kali Linux, which is like number one hacking Linux distribution. You would have Windows. You would have maybe like Android or anything you want to have on your network, all virtual, and then you like go and try to attack it and see if you can like figure out how your like IP routing works, how your like network is set up. There is one uh, box that that I can recommend is Metasploitable. It's intentionally vulnerable virtual computer that you can go and like practice your knowledge on like how to hack into servers. Super fun. And it's like a good start just to like trying to understand and like tinker with those things. Um, on that note, also, if that's something that you think you might be interested, I would also recommend two exercises. Is secure your Wi-Fi with Raspberry Pi and Pi-hole. That's a really fun project. And another exercise is to hack your own Wi-Fi. That's also very, I mean, not your neighbors, but your own. And I mean, unless they're okay with that, that's like very, I don't know. It's like, it's not too difficult to do, but it shows you the power that you can have, like knowing these tools and having those skills. I definitely recommend whatever you do, even if it's like a little tiny thing, just document your process, like maybe a blog, maybe GitHub, because this is going to be your resume. And like social presence, social networks is everything these days. And companies do look at it, like uh, so even like before I was sharing this hack the box website, some people they will add their rank in hack the box to their resumes because it's kind of like shows the company that you have the skills. And the same goes for like blog and GitHub or whatever like, profiles you have. And also another like reason why I do like I write blogs is because I never remember how I did a thing. Like I would spend like a lot of time trying to figure out like how to do it, and I finally figured out, so happy, and then I have to do it again, and it's like I have to Google all over. So I just like have this like mental notes for myself how to do it, but that's also very helpful for other people, and it's also how I what I present to a potential employer. So it's like a win-win-win situation, I think. Pretty awesome. uh, One thing they will probably like ask on most of the jobs is this OWASP top 10. This is just like a code name for like top vulnerabilities out there. There is like um, a new version comes out every year, but it's pretty much the same all the time. Like it's cross-site scripting vulnerability, it's like SQL injection. There's just like a handful of them, and if you're like really once you like start getting ready for interviews, I would just focus on that. Like once you know what that vulnerability is, describe what it does, how to exploit it, and maybe how to patch it, and that's going to get you really far, like further than you think. It's like, because like like cybersecurity is so new, and the process is not as like the hiring process of cybersecurity people is not like as well developed and designed as like programming, let's say. So very often they were just like Google is like how to test like knowledge in cybersecurity. The first thing that like comes up is always OWASP top 10. So it was a hack. You know that now. Um, and another thing that I do is just like follow InfoSec, InfoSec Twitter. Like you get all the news from there, you get all the hacks from there. Like literally last week there was this huge hack that we had to like half of the tech world had to deal with. It was like Spring for Shell. Um, and the latest news, like how to mitigate it, I got it from Twitter. Like literally, like we were fixing the company by reading Twitter. So it's like it's powerful, for sure. And like I think on the next slide, I'll give you like a few maybe like where to start if you want to follow some awesome people on InfoSec Twitter, or just a little bit of inspiration. Those are my favorite. There's so many great accounts, but I was trying to like pick the ones from like different domains to give you a variety. So I mentioned Tanya Jenka. That's the one with the Purple Team. She has a book about Purple Team, and she has a classics for that as well. Alif Dennis, that's the one who won social engineering contest at DEF CON while breastfeeding her baby. She's like always on podcasts, and like she's just a great person. Malware Unicorn, one of the greatest reverse engineers out there, and her actually a while ago, like I went through the little like her kind of tutorial that she put together for reverse engineering. It was great. I really liked it. Alisa Valentina, like she has a book on car hacking. She's like one of the like her journey is incredible. Like her last uh, engagement, she was hacking police cars. So what, it was somewhere in California, and the whole district, like the new fleet of police cars, she was like finding vulnerabilities and like they were patching it. It was like really interesting. And another like really interesting like fact that I like about her when she's like sharing it on podcasts, because she's been in cybersecurity for many years, like 20 years or something, and half of those years before transitioning, she was presented as a man, and then she had this like perfect comparison when she was having the same skill set but presented as a woman, because like no one was like even second guessing or whatever.
Right.
So she's really like showing like how the same job, like she was a year before, she got offered like twice less money, twice less money, and then she had to prove, and then she like had to prove her skills. Well, while like before everyone was just hiring her for her potential, and it's like all these things that we hear that happen in tech world, like she experienced them firsthand, and like when you hear the experience, like you can't doubt it anymore. Like it's there for sure. Like it's literally the same person. Like what are you talking about? It's crazy.
That's nuts. Mira, I know that we're actually over time right now. Do you mind if I just pop out of here just to see if people have questions?
Yeah, for sure. That I'm pretty sure that's like the last slide. And I'm like,
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so let's go back here and I can stop the sharing. All right. Thank you, everybody, for staying on. Mira, do you mind popping your LinkedIn into the chat function just so that people can follow you and get to obviously know you a little bit better about what you're sharing? And does anybody on the class right now? We'll just pop on um, your presenter mode, like I had said earlier, just so that you can come off of mute. If you have any questions for Mira, or you can pop them in the chat. If you would like, you don't have to come off camera or off mute if you don't want to, but if there's anything that you want to ask, I mean, obviously that was so much information, which was so fantastic. Thank you. But yeah, if people have questions, I know that Mira is such a wonderful expert here on this space. So we definitely encourage you to ask. We'll give it a moment just to see if anybody has any questions that they want to pop in into the chat. But I know I learned a lot. I mean, I'm kind of overwhelmed. Everything that we shared because it's so interesting and that yes, Maya says the same thing. There's a lot to process. Um, and so would you be open, Mira, to sharing your slides too, just so that people could look at them to
Yeah,
sort
for
of
sure.
recall? Wonderful. Yeah, because I think that would be really helpful just to sort of um, see, who it is that, we should be following that you shared, all of those really fun anecdotes. That was really great. Oh, a question just came in from Margaret. Have you seen any nexus between the tech cybersecurity field vis-a-vis how may it interplay with the legal field?
So like how can those two intersect? Okay.
Yes.
Uh, y- yeah, sure. So there's like a whole domain as like digital forensics that's like actually like part of legal field. That's like the first that comes to mind. There's many more. Uh, but basically, whenever like a cyber crime happens or like some event that involves law enforcement, there is a very strict process that you have to follow as an organization to preserve like evidence and preserve the data and everything like is related to that case. Uh, like Frontier Security Plus goes a little bit into it just to kind of like give you an idea that that field is there, but you can definitely go deeper into it and have that as your specialty, whether you are in cybersecurity side or in a law enforcement side. Like both of those like have those specific roles that were just kind of like focus on this particular thing. And another like compliance that also can be kind of like connected to that really good, because this is how like whenever a company gets hacked, that's like one of the first things that gets investigated is whether those companies were compliant to whatever they were required to. So as I was mentioning, like if they were like storing the credit cards like the way they're supposed to, and kind of like the chain of commands and everything. Like the investigations go like deep. It's like beyond just the technical part. It's like who's responsible for that, like what is the system of like people clocking in clocking out, like and can you like enter without a badge. So it's like it's a whole as investigations like going on. It's pretty fun field to yeah. uh, did I answer your question? Awesome.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you again, Mira. This was so wonderful. So much information. I'm excited to share the recording and the slides and your contact information with everyone because it was so much good information and we are so grateful for your time. So thanks for sharing with us. You're such an expert and we're lucky to have you.
Yeah, for sure. I was like really, really happy that I could share. Feel free to, like ask me any questions like on LinkedIn and Twitter. If I can, I'll be happy to help.
Awesome. You're amazing. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.